Okay, so it's 9:10. Just finished the 7th day of the biocybernaut Alpha 1 training, double premium, which means basically 2 times in the chamber each day for 7 days. And we've only 2 people in the group, Dulio the coach, and man, what a wild experience. I mean, it's sort of tricky right now to put into words. The only thing I would say is when you, like, having done something like religiously every day for 7 days, it kind of feels weird that it's the end. So it feels weird that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and, I'm not going to be going into the centre at 10 o'clock and not going to be coming out of the centre at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And yeah, man, I don't really know what to say. I mean, what an awesome experience. Went to places in the mind I never thought I'd go, looking to resolve inner conflicts, issues that I never thought I'd have, spend that much time looking at. Because it's not like, you go for a process and you do it for 5-10 minutes and then you go and you do something else or there's a break. You're in this chamber. I mean, I don't even know how long we're in there for. They ask us, as I've said on the previous videos, they ask us how long it felt like. And today, one of the girls said, it felt like an hour the first session, hour the second session. For me, it felt like about 2.5 hours the first session, 2.5 hours the second session. But again, had some new records on some of the levels. And when we was looking at my theta development over the week, when I came in, there was some indications of theta on the readouts. But by the end of the week, even though this was an alpha training, the theta had gone, had really increased significantly. So that's really interesting when we got into the discussion of that, and how that can be used, in the creative process. And when I look at some of the things that I've done, I suppose in my career, creation-wise, I've done a few things which, maybe I've utilised that strength that I had without really knowing it. And then this week, it looks like I've enhanced it to a degree. So it kind of, it's really interesting because speaking to Dulio, our coach through this whole process, he said, he has people that kind of contact him within a week or so of the training. They're like, they don't really feel very much. And then, but then a year later, they look at what's happened in their life, and, it's quite dramatic. So it's kind of interesting to see how this is all going to unfold, in the real world, away from all the sensors all over my head and away from the training. But one of the things he did say is that, you're here, you're using the technology, you're seeing the results on the screen at the end of the day. This doesn't mean to say when you go home you can stop going through the processes. And a lot of the processes are really based on the fact that, emotions do get suppressed. Emotions, one of the girls was talking today how she'd struggled, doing yoga for some time, and then, we've been doing a lot of sitting over the course of the last week, like tons of sitting. I've been doing my little exercise routine in the morning, brought this out with me to do some, to do bits and pieces on to assist my back. But she was saying that she did some yoga stretching, or she did some yoga just because she wanted to do it, and she couldn't believe how her hamstrings, which usually she struggles with, they just went and just lengthen. And some of the people I see back home are always talking about, when doing body work, always talking about the emotional aspect. So I'll be interested to see what the result will be from those guys when I get back from this training. So remember, if you haven't watched any of the other videos, this has been a 7-day brainwave alpha training. I suggest you go to biocybernaut.com. You can download the book, The Art of Smart Thinking. I would read that. It'll give you a real good insight into the nature of the course. And if you feel drawn to it, you might be watching this thinking, it's not for me. It might not be for you. It might not be for you right now. You might kind of log this as a memory, and then you might come back to it. And it might be a time when you think this is for you. I did it for multiple reasons. Obviously, I'm focusing on the golf aspect here, the alpha waves, the peak performance mindset. But what's interesting is that with a peak performance mindset. I was speaking to a professional golfer about this, and they was asking the question of a high-level coach, what's the difference between those who were good, on tour, versus those who just were great? I'm sure he said something along the lines of those who were really great, they had a level of appreciation for what they were doing, but they also were very, like, in their life, everything they loved about golf, it all crossed over into their life. They were very giving of their time, giving of their money, charity. There was a uniqueness about that type of person. And my assessment of that is that in a training like this, where you're forced to face things that you may not talk about when you're just talking to your friends around, the pub, having a beer and stuff like that. You face things that happen to you in your childhood, things that happen to you through your, growing up, things that happen to you in your, your early years, your 20s, things that you might have just, brushed aside, but there might be some level of energetic charge to that emotion, which once that charge is diminished and that, let's say that emotion's been processed, for want of a better term, then all of a sudden there's a lightness and a freedom in the body, and thus with the brain waves, there's an increase in alpha, that increase in relaxation, because there's nothing in your system that's causing, any noise, any stress. The noise has been diminished, and it leaves you to be your more authentic sort of self. And so I've definitely had a number of experiences of that. One specific today, a massive one yesterday, on my birthday, and at the start of the week, some real emotional stuff. So there's no doubt in my mind that this course has been worth it. What's important now, if I was to give a message to myself, is to make sure the processes that you learned during this week, you just keep utilising, maybe on a weekly basis, maybe every other week, maybe a small amount on a daily basis, and maintain at least 10 minutes of meditation each day, going through some of the processes that that was learned. So yeah, amazing to see everything, amazing to experience it, being all wired up, going through the whole process, seeing the results at the end of the day, seeing the increases in alpha. As I said, it's advertised as 20 years of Zen in 7 days. I mean, it's a big deal, as Doolio would say to us. That's a big deal. And yeah, here we are at the end of it. Somewhat, it's an interesting feeling. A little sad to say goodbye to the people the trainer, Miguel, who was, wiring us up every day and making sure we had everything, and food and drink, and looking after us, and Doolio, the coach, and then the two girls that were on the course, and everything that they went through, because witnessing that as well, man, there's some stuff I just I never expected to see, hear, experience. So yeah, very unique. And I think I said this in yesterday's video. I mean, challenging, tough, grueling, enlightening, freeing, just a myriad of emotions. So would I do it again? There's a good question. Would I do it again? Right now, I don't think I would ever want to go back. I feel like I've just finished. I feel like if someone come up to a marathon runner at the end and maybe they've run their first marathon run, do you want to do that again? The first, that 99% of them are going, no, I don't want to do that again. Just get me home, get me to bed, get me some food, get me some drink. But who's to say that in a year's time or 2 years' time, especially with all that increase in theta that I saw, I might come back and do one of the theta trainings, which is slightly different. And nonetheless, it was, man, when you look back through your life and you look at unusual experiences, I'm telling you, this is going to be right up there, right up at the top of the tree. So is it going to improve my golf? Is my golf game going to get better? Am I going to be able to maintain total cool, calm and collectedness under pressure coming down the stretch, whether it be a medal, or whether it be the club champs, or whether it be other competitions that I go into? Well, we'll see. We'll see you on the other side.